Sometimes life just sucks. You know, Sometimes there's not a better way to put it. I could get all intellectual, some kind of pontificate about something, but really sometimes life sucks. So I'm cutting straight to the point, and I might use that term more than once. So forgive me my parlance. I'm just going to say what's on my mind. These past 4 days have been difficult. Some of the most difficult I've had in years, bar none. You've probably heard of the storms going across much of the southern, midwestern, going across the United States. Not even less than a couple hours from me, an entire town was flattened by a tornado. I live in Tornado Alley. It's just part of life here. But it has been day after day after day after day of storms. Normally, that wouldn't be world ending. We deal with it. I hate it. I hate living down here in tornado country. I despise it. I'd rather live in Florida where I have a week to prepare and board up and get ready for a hurricane. But with a tornado, you never know. You never know when it's going to drop out of the sky and everything's gone. In a moment, in a flash, gone. And I hate that uncertainty. Life has that uncertainty. We can't predict what's going to happen. There are no predictions. We don't know the future. So what do we do in that moment of crisis when you're plunged into a depression you didn't expect? What do you do? There was a time in my life where I suffered from crippling depression. Yeah. You might remember the whole opioid epidemic. I rode that wave. I had doctors, because of my chronic pain, overprescribe me, and the doses kept going up and kept going up. My physical dependence on opioids to manage my pain, but it became so much more than that. And what sucks is when you're not an addict, when you didn't go first seeking that high, it's never about that. It was about needing pain relief. There's a big difference there. But what that dependency does to you is drive you towards addiction like you start acting like an addict because you're so dependent upon this drug and it's been force fed you to such. My point is this. I knew there was something wrong on every level, physically and emotionally, and I was drilled deep into depression for many years. I dealt with crippling. Yeah, I came out of it. It's great. I'm thrilled and elated to be out of it, but we never know when that tornado is going to drop out of the sky. Real, figuratively, metaphorically. This week's been all of them. The perfect storm. Dropping out of the sky, affecting me deeply, and I've been in a crippling depression for many days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And now we are here at the dawn of Friday, recording this after midnight. So, on my mind, as we do, we go to that wellspring of knowledge, of things we've experienced, the things that we know, looking for pearls of wisdom, something to guide us through, something to relate to, something to cling on to. And 4 Rush songs came to mind. Neil knew a lot about the storms of life, didn't he? Yeah. Neil knew a lot. He went through things that a lot of us can't even fathom. Yeah. We got to learn about that, of course, through Ghostwriter and subsequent writings, and of course through his songs and his lyrics. We got to learn what he went through, how he coped with it, how he came through, and what he learned from it. And that's just a treasure trove of support, or at least a bit of knowledge that we can go, hey, someone else went through this too, and that's why I'm doing this now. I can't be the only one. Have you been through that? Are you going through that now? Some insanely ridiculous time in your life. Our friend Matt, here in this audience, he told me, because we've been emailing a couple times this week that the storms in his life are real, are literal. The work he's in, he needs dry ground in order to do his business, but his business depends upon the rain. And so therefore, these torrential rains that have been coming down have deeply affected his ability to make money. And that can't be easy. I'm sorry, Matt. Hey, buddy. You know, what do we do? What do you do? You know, when you're in the moment, when I've been in the moment these past 4 days, I knew what I was going through. I allowed myself to be in it. I have now that wisdom and that experience to where I can recognize where I'm at, what I'm going through. But what does it matter? It doesn't matter in that moment. I can objectively pull back and go, hey, Eric, you're going through something right now, buddy. This isn't normal. What do you do? And that's what sucks. What do? You can't. You're still in it, and you're still in the trenches dealing with the war that's being plunged, you're being plunged into. So what do? You have to ride it out and get through it the best you can. And that hope that each successive storm that you go through in life, you get a little bit better at dealing and coming out of it more quickly. That's what I'm hoping I'm doing now. It's like, I'm hoping I'm doing that. The fact that I'm sitting here, and I really wanted to talk to you about this. And for me, I needed to express these things. But also, I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one dealing with these storms raging across the United States day after day after day. I know I'm not the only one who has dealt with or are dealing with depression or anxiety. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. What are you going through? Let me know in your comments. Maybe we can chat. So 4 songs came to mind this week. Secret Touch, The Pass, How It Is, and finally, Emotion Detector, which one of you recently pointed out that the brilliant line from Emotion Detector, sometimes our big splashes are just ripples in the pool. That's a beautiful perspective on things, isn't it? What seems like a tsunami bearing down, that giant wave bearing down on you, is really just another ripple in the pool. Something that you will get through. You will be able to swim through or sail through and get through. I love that line. So we're going to talk about Emotion Detector. How It Is perfectly describes what I've been going through. Perfectly. We're going to talk about that. But let's start with Secret Touch. We'll get to the pass. You know, as I was just moments before I hit record on this, I looked at the songs. I'm like, all right, what do I want? What are the real key lyrics here, right? With How It Is, I kept going. One section, I'm like, wow. Okay, wow. So that song, we might read through most of that. The Pass has like 4 stanzas, but finally Secret Touch. How is Secret Touch important? Well, Secret Touch, again, was on Vapor Trails. This is right after Neil and Rush came through the Ghostwriter years, right? Secret Touch was one of those songs of Neil processing. And as he said in an interview, I just had to talk about those things. I just had to. Okay. So in Secret Touch, he actually alludes to weather, which is so applicable to the literal and metaphorical picture that I'm kind of have in my mind right now, okay, as we're talking about this. The weather seems to be this key component, this through line. And he says, out of touch with the weather and the wind direction, with the sunrise and the phases of the moon, out of touch with life in the land of the loving, with the living night and the darkness of high noon. You can never break the chain. There's never love without pain. Ain't that true? A gentle hand, a secret touch in the heart, out of sync with the rhythm of my own reactions, with the things that last and the things that come apart, out of sync with love in the land of the living, a gentle hand, a secret touch in the heart. There is never love without pain, but life is the power that remains. Life is the power that remains. You know, when you're dealing with these things, as I've been dealing with these things, back in the throes of a temporary, thank goodness, depression, if you will, as we're dealing with them, again, I can have the perspective just to go, hey, you're going through this. You're dealing with this crap right now. This sucks. And again, I can't change what I'm feeling in that moment. And yet, I pull back again and I try to hold on to life in that power that remains, love in the land of the living. I try to hold on to that. What do I have? Wow. I'm not being hit by those torrential rains. My brick house is going to fare pretty well. I mean, not against like an F5 or something, but I'm pretty well protected from the weather. But inside this home, I have family that loves me. I have friends that love and care about me. That's the power that remains in those moments. You know, the past is about, of course, we know it is about that ultimate bad choice. That ultimate sad moment where someone takes their own life. And yet, leading up to that moment that Neil describes really well, leading up to that moment are 100 different choices and life experiences and failures on many levels, personally, the people around you to recognize those signs. So what it really is, it's really 99% life, what has led to that moment, that 1% moment where life has ended. But it is in that 99% that a lot of us can actually gain some perspective, right? Because a lot of us, we can go through every nuance of that song until that final moment. We're still here. We haven't made that choice. So, what does Neil say in the past? All of us gets lost in the darkness. Dreamers learn to steer by the stars. All of us do time in the gutter. But dreamers, they turn to look at the cars. Turn around and turn around and turn around. Turn around and walk the razor's edge. It's not as if this barricade, it blocks the only road. It's not as if you're all alone and wanting to explode. Someone set a bad example. It made surrender seem all right. The act of a noble warrior who lost the will to fight. Wow, that's intense. Someone set a bad example. It made surrender seem all right. Yeah, man, I weep for the people who have given that bad example, right? Again, you don't have to take your own life to set that bad example. A lot of people have given up already, where they're barely living as it is. They're still here. They're still counted among the human race, one of the 8 billion on earth, but they've given up. And when that example is set, our kids learn from our example. We learn from the example of friends and families, or maybe even a celebrity and the people around us. An example could come from anywhere. And someone set a bad example, made surrender. That's so key. Do you surrender? And you feel like surrendering, right? When you're in the throes of depression and throes of that storm, you just want to go, okay, enough. I'm done. I surrender, right? And now you're trembling on a rocky ledge. He's staring out into a heartless sea. Done with life on the razor's edge, nothing's what you thought it would be. And that carries us beautifully into the next song, How It Is. When today's as far as we can see, faith and bright tomorrows give way to resignation. And that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. It's such a cloudy day, it seems we'll never see the sun. Yeah, that's applied in every different way, right? Especially this week with the storms. I don't have to point that out, but it's true. It's such a cloudy day. Seems we'll never see the sun or feel the day of possibilities. Frozen in the moment. A lack of imagination between how it is and how it ought to be. Here's a little trap. That's the key word, trap. That sometimes trip up everyone. When we tire of our own company. Been there? Have you? I have. Sometimes we're the last to see beyond the day's frustrations. And that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. It's such a cloudy day. Seems we'll never see the sun. I feel the day is all uncertainty, burning in the moment, trapped by the desperation between how it is and how it ought to be. This next verse of how it is, I have new perspective on it now. I'll share with you. Foot upon the stair, shoulder to the wheel. You can't tell yourself how to not to care. You can't tell yourself how to feel. Foot upon the stair, shoulder to the wheel. You can't tell yourself not to care. You can't tell yourself how to feel. That's how it is. And the last verse is another cloudy day. Wow. That song, everything from faith and bright tomorrows giving way to resignation, is such a cloudy day, seems we'll never see the sun. Here's a little trap. We tire of our own company. It's such a cloudy day, we'll never see the sun. A day is all uncertainty. Foot upon the stair, shoulder to the wheel. Yeah, all of those lyrics are like, holy crap. Yeah, nailed it. He nailed it. That's what this week's been like for me. Have you been there? Have you been there? Are you there now? Yeah, it sucks. Life sucks sometimes, right? Is there a better way to put it, really? I mean, that's like 2 or 3 words. I could go on and on, but sometimes life sucks. It's how we get through it. It's how we weather it. It's how we batten down, knowing we're going through it. And even though it's another cloudy day and it feels like we're not going to see the sun and we're trapped by the desperation and we're tired of our own company, and even though all of these things are true, holding on to life in the land of the living, life is a power. Holding on to that, realizing this circle of love and friendship, and just the things that you have, right? Hey, I'm dry. There's no rain coming down on my head right now. That's a good start. And yet in that moment, it's hard to even who cares? Who freaking cares in that moment, right? Yeah. Yeah. Have you been there? You know, our final song, Emotion Detector, and one of you, I'm so glad you pointed this out recently. I'm glad you did. The line about sometimes our big splashes are just ripples in the pool. The verses that preceded that, okay, the lines preceding that one. It's true that love can change us, but never quite enough. Sometimes we are too tender, but sometimes we're too tough. If we get too much attention, it gets hard to overrule. Sometimes our fragile power turns to scorn and ridicule. Sometimes our big splashes are just ripples in the pool. Feelings run high, don't they? Feelings run high. You bet they do. We're humans. We're just humans. And what stinks is that the pile of excrement that builds up in our lives, when you're dealing with a physical thing, right? The arthritis I deal with that leads to crippling pain already, when there's this succession of storms, one after another, arthritis, those of you dealing with arthritis know, right? You have arthritis somewhere in your body, you know what weather changes, right? So, you got that. Then you're dealing with an emotional, psychological component. Stuff that's been happening in your life lately. Another pile of excrement shoveled onto the pile. And then, with me personally, stress and emotional stress and the stuff I'm going through leads to more physical pain. Okay, there's another shovel full of excrement on the pile. But then that physical pain only makes me feel worse emotionally. Another shovel full. And then it's still storming outside, and what? I might lose power, and a tornado's bearing down on us, potentially, all the time. No warning. Another shovel. And then what does that stress me out? Another. And then it's this vicious cycle that we get into. This vicious cycle. And before we know it, we're so buried under a massive pile of excrement. There's no seeing out of that. You know, I got a funny anecdote. It's just now thought of it. When I'm in college, I pledged for what most of you call a fraternity. Ours were called clubs, our little private Christian school. And at this school, our club, Kappa Omega, don't look for it, it's not there anymore. We were such the ultimate lazy club that we just disbanded. You don't get a lazier club than your ultimate destiny being to just go, you go to the president and go, you know what, we're done. There's no point in going on. But I digress. But rewind the clock 3 or 4 years. Freshman year of college. They take us out to this farmland in the middle of nowhere. And they dumped garlic powder in our hair and all these spices and herbs. My hair, when I took a shower for the next 2 weeks, I smelled like garlic. It was disgusting. I guess proof that I'm not actually a vampire. But I digress. So we're out in the field and it's initiation day, right? The big hell day. And what are they going to put us through? One of the things is they said, all right, go around the field, everyone. Yeah, you too, Eric. And oh, you too, Joel. Joel was in my club too. And we'd pick up these giant cow patties, right? Piles of excrement. And we put them into a pile on the ground. Then they got hoses. And they hosed it down, creating an excrement slip and slide. That's right. A giant slide of crap. Can you guess what came next? Anybody? That's right. Slide through it, boys. And we had to slide through that cow excrement slip and slide. Slide through 20 feet of crap. That's pretty disgusting, isn't it? I can't even believe I did that. I can't believe I picked up a pile of crap to begin with. I can't believe I stacked it with other piles of crap, that excrement pile, and then they hose it down, turning it into a crap slip and slide, and then I slid through it. How badly did I want to be? And yet, my ride back to school was in one of the guys' pickup trucks, 20 miles away. So it's not, once they brought us there, it was like an internment camp. There was no getting out. You're either going to smell like garlic for 2 weeks and slide through crap to get to the other side and become a club member. That's your destiny. And we seized the day. We slid through that crap. Oh yeah, we did. And yet we were having a lot of fun. Yeah. So what do we do? You know, I can tell you that, for 4 days, I've had this video. I've been wanting to talk about these songs for about 5 days, but it then has 4 successive days where this chair stayed empty. This video started with you seeing this chair empty, right? And it stayed empty. Lights off. Nothing happening in here. Me just suffering out there. I barely slept in nights. I've been waking up at 4 a.m. and then that's going to bed late. It's been, again, I can't see my way out of that pile of excrement. And that's been my life lately. And yet, all the while, I finally had to tell myself, today, I think, late yesterday, somewhere in that time frame, I had to tell myself this. Hey, Eric, stop. Can you shut off your OCD brain for a moment? Can you? Can you shut that off and deal with this now? Shut it off. That was making it worse. My need to come in here and do this and make videos only made it worse. When I'm feeling that awful, when I'm feeling physically and emotionally and just I'm running on fumes from no sleep, and the pile of excrement, right? It sucked. I had to tell myself, Eric, enough. Don't feel guilty. You're going to get to it. Whoever said life was easy never lived one. Guys, I don't have all the answers. 4 songs came to mind. Emotion Detector, How It Is, Sweet Miracle, and Secret Touch. It's been that kind of week. Those 4 songs came to mind. There are others. Do you guys have any? What songs? It doesn't have to be Rush. Okay. Any band, any songwriter. any bit of wisdom that helps you through this, let me know. Let us know. Share that with us. How do you get through this? How do you cope with sometimes weeks, years that just suck? How do you cope when you're at the bottom of that pile of excrement or being forced to slide through that excrement to get to a certain goal? How do you cope? These are 4 examples of things that came to mind. But I'd love to know what you think. You know, I am so glad that you're here. I feel so happy to be here, guys. Whew. That's just me sighing some relief because and I'm not out of the woods, but today I just said, hey, get up, take a shower, take your time. And now, sometime after midnight, I have no idea what time it is, I'm doing this now. And man, I feel I'm very lucky to be doing this right now. I'm really happy. So I say all of that to say thank you for your continued support. Thank you for being here. It's such an honor and a privilege. I use those words a lot. Forgive me for using those words all the stinking time, but it is to talk about Rush, but Neil Peart's lyrics. Because if you're like me, they are drilled into my conscience and my subconscious, and they inform the wiser parts of me. Because we were fortunate enough to live vicariously through his pain and suffering and how he came out of it and found love again, right? But even before and during and after that, we've learned so much from Neil. And that's why when these 4 songs came to mind, I wanted to share them with you. So thank you for being here. Subscribe if you want to. That'd be awesome. Share it with your friends. And one final request. If you happen to be on Rumble, come join me over there. We're still doing our thing here. Okay? We're still doing our YouTube thing. I'm thrilled to be here. But I will be on Rumble. Slightly different content over there. And yet there's some bleed over and some crossover. But if you happen to be on the Rumble streaming platform, would you come over and follow me? Would you do that, please? That'd be awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Listen, I hope you have a good day. If you're dealing with this stuff, let us know. Maybe we can talk about it. And until next time, guys, I'm Eric. This is the Loud Boy Experience. I'll see you guys next time.